I was ready to come out here and say that 2021 was a bad year for movies. When the 1st of January 2022 came around, my best of 2021 list was only 9 movies long, and the number 1 film was a mere 8 out of 10. But now that I've actually sat down and watched everything I wanted to see from that year, I now have a comfortable top 50. I guess the lesson here is that there are always great films being released, you just gotta dig for them. So I present to you the top 50 films of 2021. Before I go through the actual list, I'm going to go through some honourable mentions first, which are shorts, mini-series, or feature-length films which I thought were worth recommending but not good enough to make it onto the actual list. Squid Game, directed by Hwang Dong-hyuk. You all know what this is. While undoubtedly flawed, this mini-series more than makes up for it with compelling characters, imaginative sets, and an exciting concept. It is aged like a fine wine, just as long as you ignore the American characters. Malignant, directed by James Wan. This film is complete nonsense and schlock, but it goes overboard with everything and loops back around to becoming entertaining. The final 30 minutes are absolutely insane and are the only reason why this film deserves a mention. Go in blind. And the last of the honourable mentions is Censor of Dreams, directed by Rafael Rodriguez and Leo Byrne. Honestly, this is one of the best short films I think I've ever seen. It's overflowing with creativity and I love what they did with the editing, the lighting and the production design. It's clearly inspired by Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and is just as imaginative. It's stunning, emotionally impactful and very easy to get immersed in. I completely and utterly adore the ending to this thing. Hopefully the directors get to make a feature-length film soon because this was just incredible. Now onto the actual list. Since I don't want this to be 4 hours long, I'm going to speedrun the bottom half. At number 50 is Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro takes a more grounded approach, which is a nice change of pace for him. The film looks beautiful and features a stacked cast of talents. I love the setting, and Bradley Cooper portrays a deeply fascinating lead character. At number 49 is Sweat, directed by Magnus von Horn. This film offers a refreshing take on influencer culture by contrasting the constructed glamour of what we choose to upload against the cold reality of the life we actually live. Magdalena Kolesnik delivers a standout lead performance here. At number 48 is Aloners, directed by Hong Sung-yun, which is a film that explores how increasingly isolated modern life has become, with some vaguely absurd humour. Even though there's no mention of it, it's fitting how this film's release coincided with the pandemic. The protagonist is shown watching other people through a screen on their own, just like how you are watching this movie. Probably. At number 47 is The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion. It is beautifully shot with a spellbinding Johnny Greenwood score. By the way, this is the first of 3 films to be scored by Johnny Greenwood on this list. Its slow pacing and subversion of masculine stereotypes makes this something of a anti-western. It's a very effective slow burn if you have the patience to sit with it to the end. At number 46 is a cop movie directed by Alonso Ruiz Palacios. This is a bizarre fiction documentary hybrid that focuses on reenactments. It takes a lot of unexpected directions and it's almost impossible to predict where it will go next. It offers a lot of insight into the corruption of Mexico City's police department and is both exciting but also eye-opening at the same time. At number 45 is The Card Counter, directed by Paul Schrader. This is a batshit insane film that makes a lot of bold artistic choices, creating a bizarre experience that is both refreshing and sometimes frustrating. Although messy, there are some parts that are extremely visceral and hypnotic, like a violent drug trip. You won't find anything else like it. At number 44 is Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time, directed by Hideaki Anno, Mahiro Maeda, Kazuya Tsurumaki, Katsuchi Nakayama. This might be the most inaccessible film on this list since you have to watch an entire television series plus 4 other films to get up to speed with it. It has amazing action sequences, stunning animation, plus a killer soundtrack. It's a fitting conclusion to the franchise and there's so much more to say about it that I can't really get into right now, but it is a dense film. At number 43 is Limbo, directed by Soi Shang, one of the grimiest, filthiest, crustiest looking crime thrillers ever made. You could almost smell it. It's overloaded with clutter and utterly merciless to its characters. This film is uniquely stylized and unrelentingly grim. At number 42 is The French Dispatch, directed by Wes Anderson. This is one of Anderson's best looking films, which sees him taking on a wide variety of visual aesthetics. It is straight up immaculate from a production standpoint and hits all the marks that you'd want out of a Wes Anderson movie. At number 41 is Paris 13th District, directed by Jacques Audiard. This is a visually chaotic love triangle that features 3 compelling, fully defined leads. I love all the different directions the story heads down, plus Lucy Zhang is endlessly watchable. It's very French. Number 40 is A Night of Knowing Nothing, directed by Pael Kapadia. This is a haunting, meditative and intimate documentary about love and protests that is as upsetting as it is dreamlike. At number 39 is Nobody, directed by Ilya Naishuller. A no-nonsense action film that strikes the balance between its seriousness and its absurdity. It's brutal, self-aware, and features some of the most exciting action sequences out there. At number 38 is The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. This is the best DCEU film by light years, although that wasn't a very high bar to cross to begin with. James Gunn injects some much needed life into the franchise with fun characters and a morbid sense of humour. This is the biggest, freshest breath of air in the current superhero landscape. At number 37 is Come On, Come On, directed by Mike Mills. A warm, sweet and endearing comedy drama that features a charming lead duo. Joaquin Phoenix is tremendous as always, and Woody Norman completely steals the show. I can't imagine anyone disliking this. At number 36 is Days, directed by Tsai Ming Liang. A slow-paced, minimalist and entrancing film that is intentionally left unsubtitled. It doesn't really matter because there's no dialogue anyway. It's not going to be for everyone, but I found it to be very immersive and introspective and a totally unique movie watching experience. At number 35 is Life of Crime 1984 to 2020, directed by John Alpert. This is a decade-spanning documentary that closely follows the lives of 3 drug-addicted New Jersey residents. It candidly details their lives and showcases some truly shocking moments. It is so incredibly harrowing yet intimate that by the end you feel like you actually know these people. At number 34 is The Novice, directed by Lauren Hadaway. An extremely tense, hyperactive film with a maximalist editing and some chaotic sound design. Isabelle Fuhrman delivers an impressively transformative performance. Its intense, jittery style gives it a one-of-a-kind voice. This is a must-watch for people who enjoyed Whiplash. At number 33 is The Velvet Underground, directed by Todd Haynes. One of the most visually striking documentaries I've seen. Every single frame is dazzling. This documentary is very refreshing because it doesn't act as a pandering puff piece for the band. It isn't afraid to show the unglamorous aspects of their lives. I don't think a single song is played in full. Instead, the music is utilized in tandem with the on-screen imagery to create a powerful audio-visual experience. At number 32 is The Killing of Two Lovers, directed by Robert McCoyan. This is a starkly uncomfortable film, with every scene being steeped in tension. The claustrophobic aspect ratio and ominous score do an excellent job at building an inescapable sense of dread. It's simple but effective, and also Clayne Crawford delivers a fantastic lead performance. At number 31 is Private Chat, directed by Ben Hosey. While noticeably rough around the edges, this film more than makes up for it with personality. It follows the most degenerate protagonist possible. The guy is a total loser. The characters are endlessly watchable and feature some electric performances, especially from Buddy Duress. With how grimy the characters are, the raw presentation really adds to the experience. I would advise that you watch this film when you're on your own. It features some unsimulated sex acts, so people will think you're watching porn if they walked in. I love the style of this film, I love its energy, I love its sense of humour. It just flies by and I'm just excited for whatever Ben Hosey does next. At number 30 is Pig, directed by Michael Sarnowski. This is a stripped back, mature take on the thriller genre. It's more focused on the character's internal state than on spectacle, allowing it to subvert the genre. Nicolas Cage delivers a commanding yet restrained performance, which is rare to see from him. To top it all off, the film has some beautiful cinematography and a moving score. At number 29 is Compartment No. 6, directed by Juho Kausmanen. This is a romance film in a similar vein to the Before trilogy that features 2 engaging leads bouncing off each other. It has impressive cinematography and blocking, and Yura Borisov completely steals the show. Plus, I adore the ending. At number 28 is The Rescue, directed by Jimmy Chin and Elizabeth Chai Vassarelli. An astounding documentary about the Thai cave rescue in 2018. The film shows the enormous lengths the rescuers had to go through and never slows down with its sharp pacing. It'd be hard for anyone to not be moved by them. And number 27 is Cryptozoo, directed by Dash Shaw. No, not that kind of crypto. This kind of crypto. This is an utterly bizarre animated film with insane character designs and a weird mixture of visual styles, mediums and textures. The story isn't afraid to show consequences and has some clever payoffs. There isn't anything else like it. Also, it's one of like 4 movies that have realistic sound mixing in a nightclub scene. At number 26 is The Green Knight, directed by David Lowery. A beautifully shot medieval fantasy film that has some dazzling camera work and stylized lighting. The whole film has an otherworldly tone and features some awesome character designs. It's thematically dense and I still feel like I have more to discover about it. So starting off the second half of the list, at number 25 is Listening to Kenny G, directed by Penny Lane. This is one of the most thought-provoking documentaries of the past decade. This film explores the seething hatred many people have for titular saxophonist Kenny G, and in the process unearths the biases people have when it comes to art criticism. This film had me challenging my own outlook on music and art in general. There's so much more to it that I cannot cover in this summary, so all I'll say is that this is a revitalizingly nuanced film that manages to explore so much in just 97 minutes. At number 24 is Supernova, directed by Harry McQueen. This is a warm, heartfelt and extremely depressing film. Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci are incredible as the leads. I won't say much about the plot, so all I'll say is that this film can be totally devastating. It's the type of movie where you have to go stare at a window when it ends. At number 23 is Whirlybird, directed by Matt Yoka. This is an utterly fascinating character study on the Tur family who popularized the practice of capturing breaking news via helicopter. Every scene is able to grab you in one way or another, whether it be because of jaw-dropping footage, or because of the family's patriarch's fiery, commanding screen presence, or because of the awesome Ty Segall score. The whole experience of this documentary ranges from mesmerizing to thrilling to horrifying. Its nuanced approach to its subjects gives it an emotional potency that's rare to find. At number 22 is Pleasure, directed by... Their name is written down, looks like Ninja, but I think it's Nina Thyberg. Hello, this is John editing this right now. Her name is actually Ninja Thyberg. I just wanted to point that out, although I don't know why I even bothered, because I think I pronounced everyone else's name incorrectly anyway. But yeah, her name is Ninja Thyberg, directed by Ninja Thyberg. This film manages to evoke a sense of dread more effectively than most horror films. It doesn't pull any of its punches. It isn't afraid to show how gruesome and damaging the porn industry is. It goes all the way in, pun intended. I love the artificially bright aesthetic, making parts of this film look like a photo shoot. This is a disturbing, provocative film with an excellent lead performance by Sophia Capel. I would advise you that you watch this film when you're on your own, because people will think you're watching porn if they walk in. At number 21 is The Timekeepers of Eternity, directed by Aristotelis Marikos and Tom Holland. Not that Tom Holland, the other Tom Holland. This film was made by printing out the individual frames of the Tom Holland directed and Stephen King written 1995 miniseries The Langoliers, and reconstructed it by filming the pages in a form of flipbook animation. It's easy to look at this and dismiss it as nothing more than a vandalized version of an old miniseries. However, the printed frames play an active role in the film's presentation. Frames will wrinkle and tear in response to characters' actions. Half of the frame will be ripped off to reveal another frame underneath, essentially joining two separate points in time and space together like a split screen would. Cutouts of characters will wander across the screen, allowing them to be included in a scene that they weren't originally in. There's no denying that this is totally indebted to the original adaptation, but the new approach completely transforms it and offers something I've never really seen in a movie before. At number 20 is Bad Luck Banging, or Loony Porn, directed by Radu Jude. This is an utterly bizarre social satire that's difficult to describe. It's such an unpredictable experience that I don't really want to say much about it. It's divided into 3 parts. The first part is the most grounded and offers a contemplative yet absurd portrait of, I think Bucharest. It's a city in Romania. The second part is totally unique and refreshing, and I just didn't want it to end. The third part is the most absurd and sees the film bluntly and unambiguously tackle social attitudes head on. It even starts to throw a meta-argument at the audience, causing you to reflect on the very film that you're watching. This film is about a leaked sex tape and features unsimulated sex acts. If you find yourself disgusted at the thought of that, then you're exactly the type of person this film is poking fun at. I would advise that you watch this film when you're on your own, because at number 19 is All Light Everywhere, directed by Theo Anthony. This is an essay documentary that focuses on human vision and police body cameras. At first it seems like a very narrow topic of choice, but as the film goes on, it starts to broaden and will end up challenging you on how you perceive the world. It's a frighteningly thought-provoking film that will have you contemplating on ideas that you've likely taken for granted. This documentary is also immaculately produced with some top-tier editing and scoring. Theo Anthony is one of the most exciting and one-of-a-kind documentary filmmakers working today. Speaking of one-of-a-kind documentary filmmakers, at number 18 is Some Kind of Heaven, directed by Lance Oppenheim. Even though this is a documentary on real people, this feels like an absurdist comedy. This is a documentary on The Villages, Florida, America's largest retirement community. The community the subject lives in is so detached from reality and weirdly utopic that it makes this film feel like you're watching an alternate reality. This film is hilarious and endearing and even upsetting. It's expertly made, with the cinematography, editing and score being utilized to enhance the absurdity. This isn't some exploitative documentary where you come to gawk at idiosyncratic old people. This film perfectly captures their desires and fears, offering an intimate and resonant portrait of its subjects. At number 17 is Seven Prisoners, directed by Alexander Morato. This is an immensely engaging film that explores a nightmare scenario. It presents you with a morally complex dilemma that's difficult to stomach. It works perfectly as a standard thriller, but it is also effectively disturbing on a psychological level. It even includes one of the most disturbing scenes I think I've seen in a film, and the indescribable feeling of horror it was able to convey was through one simple line of dialogue. This film offers a lot of ambiguity with its characters, who only become more complex as the story progresses. Very few films got under my skin like this one did. At number 16 is Întregalde, directed by Radu Muntean. This film features some astonishing cinematography. The landscapes on display here are truly stunning, and there's even some impressive Children of Men-esque long takes. The characters feel effortlessly natural, both in how they are performed and how they are written. The story is intense, stressful, and purposefully infuriating. There's a constant sense of dread throughout, as if something disastrous could happen at any moment. It's perfectly paced and never has a dull moment. It captures that feeling of falling in your sleep perfectly. Watch it if you want your anxiety to spike. At number 15 is Licorice Pizza, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. PTA goes back to his roots with a colourful, aimless hangout movie. The pacing of this film is like floating along on a donut-themed inflatable, sunburnt to fuck. The entire film is just watching these energetic characters as they drift from one scheme to another. Alana Haim delivers what might be one of the best performances of this decade. She is incredibly chaotic and volatile and just so goddamn hilarious. Cooper Hoffman is bursting with charisma in every scene. He could sell honey to a bee. This film also features a star-studded cast with hysterical appearances from Sean Penn, Tom Waits and Benny Safdie. This is easily the best Bradley Cooper performance ever. I love how this film has this heavenly glow to it. It looks stunning. This is also the second film on this list to feature a Johnny Greenwood score, although it's mostly complimentary to make room for the banging soundtrack. This is a hilarious, vibey comedy drama with a lot of layers to its lead characters. And it makes me nostalgic for a place that I've never visited and a time period that I wasn't even alive for. At number 14 is The Velvet Queen, directed by Marie Amiguet and Vincent Meunier. This is one of the most visually pristine documentaries I've ever seen. It's actually mind-blowing what they were able to capture here. It features an impeccable Warren Ellis and Nick Cave score, which combines with the imagery to create a powerful audiovisual experience. It offers some thought-provoking observations on humanity's place in the natural world. This should be watched on the biggest screen available. At number 13 is The Humans, directed by Stephen Karam. This film has some of the most creative set design of the past few years. The apartment the film is set in almost acts as a character in and of itself. It constantly, yet subtly, reinforces its presence in nearly every scene. So much so that it gives this film a strangely ominous atmosphere. The best way to describe the tone of this film is that it's almost a horror movie. The film features an ensemble cast with every character performed masterfully. The dialogue is carefully written so that you can infer more about the characters beyond what is merely said. Despite how simple the film appears to be, this is a deeply layered drama with a lurking, sinister undercurrent. At number 12 is Mass, directed by Fran Kranz. I won't say much about what this film is about because it's best to go in blind. This is an absolutely devastating film. It's like touching an exposed nerve, just a crushing powerhouse of emotion, compelling, natural performances and razor-sharp dialogue that cuts deep. Make sure you have the tissues ready because this film is heavy. And at number 11, just barely missing out on a top 10 placement, is Playground, directed by Laura Wandel. Yet another emotionally distressful film. I was completely ensnared by this film from the very first frame. Very few films are as impactful right from the get-go. Features some stellar performances from the child actors, which is a rarity. The entire film is shot from the children's eye level, meaning there is a strict boundary on what the audience can and cannot see. You never see the faces of most of the adult characters. This film explores the challenges of navigating the social hierarchies of the schoolyard and how isolating it can be. It isn't afraid to show how horrible children can be to each other, making this a distressing watch. This is an intelligently made film that hits like a truck and doesn't waste any time at all, at only 72 minutes in length. This film affected me so much that I had a pain in my stomach when it ended. Right, so we're now into the top 10. I have to say that this was the hardest top 10 to curate because I couldn't decide what should be left in and what should be left out, but I think I have a solid list right here. I think this is the definitive top 10 as of recording this. It might change in the future, but whatever. So anyway, at number 10 is Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King. This is only Shaka King's second film, but it feels like it were made by someone who has been working in the industry for decades. If this were released 10 years ago, it would be considered a classic today. This film has some powerhouse performances. Daniel Kaluuya is so utterly commanding that it's hard not to be captivated by his every word. Lakeith Stanfield delivers a truly masterful performance. It's completely transformative. He's able to convey so much with just his posture, speech cadence, and breathing pattern. The film has some stellar production with impressive long takes and a riveting score. The entire second half of this film is basically perfection. It's brutal, it's nerve-wracking, and it's shocking. Very rare to find a film that is as intelligent as it is exciting. At number 9 is Bo Burnham Inside, directed by Bo Burnham. This is a one-man show where Bo Burnham does a comedy special under the restraints of COVID lockdown. He had a hand in almost every single step of the filmmaking process. While certain traits found in a typical stand-up special are missing, for example, it isn't recorded live and there is no live audience, Burnham takes full advantage of what little resources he has available to him in order to create a bizarre, witty series of sketches that rely heavily on editing, props, and role-playing. It's so simple, yet it's so ingenious. Burnham also has a gift for songwriting, including some short numbers that range from deranged to personal. Burnham displays a lot of vulnerability and introspection here, which is endlessly refreshing to see come from an online celebrity. Burnham uses the theme of COVID lockdown to explore a vast array of topics, including mental health crisis, the modern digital hellscape that has only gotten worse since the film's release, and the relationship between audience and performer. Burnham essentially made a fun, surreal, dense, and thoughtful comedy special out of nothing. It is one of the best portrayals of the COVID lockdown experience out there. At number 8 is Spencer, directed by Pablo Larraín. Kristen Stewart delivers a career best performance here, completely transforming into the role of Princess Diana. She is totally unrecognizable. This film has a beautiful visual style that features a desaturated color palette. There's this soft glow to every single shot. Johnny Greenwood's score is as equally as magnificent as the visuals. It's so powerful that it gets overwhelming, almost apocalyptic at points. The film helps you get an understanding of Princess Diana as a person and the pressures she felt from the royal family's expectations of her. It's surprisingly intense and can even get surreal in how it explores Diana's psyche. I was completely blown away by this. It's gorgeous, haunting and captivating, and what an ending too. At number 7 is Red Rocket, directed by Sean Baker. This film offers a hilarious yet unsettling character study on a pathetic, narcissistic asshole. Simon Rex delivers a pitch-perfect lead performance. He has expert comedic timing and can make a scene funny by doing basically nothing at all. It's cringe-inducing watching this man interact with and manipulate all the other characters, who are just as despicable as he is. The film has this bright, sugary colour palette, which contrasts heavily with all the degenerate characters. This film leaves a lot for you to chew on when it's over, and it might feature one of the funniest third acts of all time. At number 6 is Unclenching the Fists, directed by Kira Kovalenko. This is the debut of most of its cast and crew, which is insane because this thing is expertly assembled. There's some dynamic, natural performances, along with some intricate blocking and some impressive long takes, which makes for a daringly ambitious film. It's difficult for me to wrap my head around how they coordinated most of this. This film has a fairly heavy central conflict that is explored with a lot of depth and nuance. Characters will sometimes contradict themselves in their actions, yet you totally understand why they're doing that. This is a deeply affecting film that was able to convey an emotion I haven't really felt in a movie before. It's devastating, harrowing, disturbing, intimate, uplifting, and hopeful all at the same time. A criminally underrated film. At number 5 is Memoria, directed by, I'm going to pronounce his name as best I can, Apichatpong Weerasethakul, also known as Joe. An important bit of context for this film is that it was originally intended to never have a proper theatrical release, nor a digital/physical release. In the US, at least, it was meant to tour each city, one theater at a time indefinitely. This meant that there was only going to be one single audience viewing this film at any given time. Obviously, this plan has fallen through, since it would have been too costly and too impractical to give this film an endlessly and extremely limited theatrical release. However, it wasn't just a gimmick, because this unusual release schedule holds significance to the film's themes and messaging. This means that a portion of this film might be lost on some viewers, since the original intent was that nobody else in the world was currently watching this film, besides you and your cinema audience. If you haven't guessed it already, this film is not for casual audiences. It is extremely unconventional, with a glacial pacing and zero desire to reward the audience with any sort of concrete conclusion. However, that is why I love this film. It is a hypnotic, mesmerizing experience that only engrossed me more and more as it went on. This is one of the few films I can say is truly you get whatever you can pull from it. The sound design is rich with detail, both in how subtle it is and how striking it is. The film is comprised of several mind-blowing long takes that make you forget that you are watching a movie. There is so much more to extract from this film that I am actually making new discoveries about it as I am writing this. This is definitely one for the Tarkovsky fans. At number 4 is Official Competition, directed by Gaston Duprat and Mariano Cohen. I went into this expecting to hate it. The title is fairly unimaginative, plus I wasn't fond of the bland poster. After watching it, I can confidently say that this is one of the funniest films ever made. This thing had me on the verge of tears. The three leads are basically perfect, and I loved every second of watching them interact with each other. They basically deliver career best performances here. This film is a satire on the film industry, however, it gives the characters enough grace so that they're not portrayed as total caricatures. You can tell that they have an authentic passion for their craft and are not completely out of touch with reality. Every scene takes the best possible direction it could have. It is absurd, it's outrageous, and it is hysterical. The film also has some meta aspects, becoming the very thing that it's commenting upon. I had a total blast watching this. It came out of absolutely nowhere, and it is easily one of the best comedies this decade. At number 3 is What Do We See When We Look at the Sky, directed by Alexander Koberidze. This is a whimsical, modern-day fairy tale. It has an absurd, playful tone that is almost impossible to not be captivated by. It features a narrator who behaves as his own character. He will sometimes address the audience or will even start discussing the very film that you are watching. The film has an idiosyncratic personality and is full to the brim with crazy, stylized choices. At one point, it turns into a music video. One scene includes its own footnotes. There's even a scene that includes instructions on how to watch it, which is something I've never seen a movie do before. The fantasy elements are presented as simply as possible, which gives the film an irresistible charm. It's so cute and fun and wondrous. Even looking past the film's personality, it is impressively crafted. Stunning long takes, beautiful scenery, and enchanting lighting. The way some shots are composed is legitimately mind-blowing. The score and soundtrack are awesome and help add to the fantastical tone. As cheesy as it sounds, I would describe this film as magical. It is one of the most unique and endearing films ever made, and I cannot imagine anyone disliking it. At number 2 is Quo Vadis, Aida, directed by Jasmila Zabanic. This film is based on the events of what happened in 1995 in Srebrenica. It follows a UN translator as she tries to navigate the bureaucracy in the midst of a Serbian invasion. The film is absolutely harrowing and distressing. It's like watching a nightmare play out in front of you. With every scene, it becomes more and more stressful, and the protagonist becomes more and more desperate. It's intelligently made and is able to resonate effectively, despite never trying to pry the emotions out of you. All I'll say is that this film made me so upset that I wanted to throw up after watching it. And this leads me to my number 1 film of 2021, which is Titane, directed by Julia Ducournau. This is one of the most insane films ever made. Sure, it wears its influences on its sleeves. You can see traces of Eraserhead, Tetsuo the Iron Man, and Crash in here. However, it reuses these inspirations to create something totally unique and distinct. This film isn't going to be for everyone. In fact, I know that a lot of people will hate this. But I don't care. This is my list. I pick the number 1 film. This film is dense. It's like a geological dig. You have to excavate it in order to uncover all the layers. If you've only seen this movie once, then I don't think you've truly seen it. There is so much to uncover that I'm not even sure if I've sifted through everything this film has to offer. The performances are stellar, with Vincent Lindon being utterly phenomenal. The soundtrack is pitch perfect and is full of metaphorical relevance. The way this film is shot sometimes looks like a painting with ethereal lighting. This film heads down countless bizarre and unpredictable directions. However, it is purposeful in how chaotic it is. I have so much to say about this movie that it cannot be contained by this video. I think this is one of the best films ever made, and it is one of the few films that I would call truly original. So that does it for my best films of 2021. It took me a long time to make this, but I'm happy with the outcome. There might be some stuff that I missed, I'm not too sure. I feel like I've covered most of what's out there. I'm going to try and do 2022, although I think that might be more daunting because it's a post-COVID year, so there's going to be more films released. But I'm going to try it regardless. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it off with what do you think are the best films of 2021? I would love to know. Thank you. Goodbye.